Welcome to Something More. I'm your host, Bob DuVall, and today I have the special privilege of interviewing a coworker, Morris Graves. Now, if you were around the office, you would know what Morris is like. He is constantly having a word of encouragement for people. He just exudes the passion of God. He's up, he smiles. But Morris, let me go back to a date in your life, January 22nd, 1992. Convicted of second-degree murder, sentenced to 15 years in prison for taking the life of your cousin's husband. So it's hard for me to reconcile that with the Morris that I've known over almost the last 8 years of working with you. But God has obviously done a miracle in your life, which is the big story. So let's go back to the beginning, because you had some things stacked against you. When did your father pass away?
Well, my father was hit by a train when I was 1.
1 year old?
One,
Okay.
yes.
Now, your mom moved. You had to move from the suburbs into the projects.
Right, government housing.
And your mom got remarried. How many times did she?
Seeing, when I first got saved, I used to make fun of my mom. She didn't like it. I said she was the original woman at the well because she had been married 5 times. And the man she was living with when I got saved wasn't her husband.
So you were really, even though these men were in the home, were they fathers to you?
No, they were not fathers to me, nor were they husbands to my mom. She wanted a man in the home. She wanted a man for us to look at and be that example as what a man would look like or should look like. It just didn't happen with them. The one thing she did do is she did her best to try to help me understand what a man looks like. But you gotta understand, Bob, I'm growing up in a fatherless environment. And I truly believe that that a woman is limited in her ability to rear a man. She would not go on welfare. She worked sometimes 2 or 3 jobs to support us, which was a fine example of work ethic. But at the same time, it leaves myself and my siblings, I being the oldest, home alone. And when you're living in that type of environment without adult supervision, it just it gave me or afforded me the opportunity to go down avenues that would lead me into deeper levels of darkness.
Right. Now, Morris, you were 10 years old, and you had an encounter with the church and with Christianity that left you feeling like you didn't ever want to be a Christian. What happened?
Right. We were out, my friends and I, one night, and we ran upon a backyard revival there in the project that we were living in. The preacher, it was a fiery time. It was just amazing, scary. You're hearing people talking in tongues and people getting slain in the spirit. And I'd never seen anything like that before. And on top of that, the pastor or the preacher was just fiery and in control. And I was amazed at that. So he had a church he had a church bus that would come around and pick us up and take us to a Friday evening service. His church was in the inner city. Now, no adults went, but they would send their children with this guy. One evening I had been picking with some girls. And so my friends and I were sitting on a bench waiting for the church bus to come around and pick us up. Mm-hmm. And so what they did, the girls, they told the pastor that they had saw me, his jacket, and I didn't realize this, was hanging right beside me. Mm-hmm. And they told me they saw me going into his jacket pockets. And so I'm sitting there talking with my friends, And out of nowhere, the guy comes around and he snatches me up by my shoulders and he's shaking me and, screaming at me. Saliva's popping on my face and my friends are looking at me. He's wanting to know why I went into his pockets. And I'm trying to tell the guy that I didn't. But this was the thing that devastated me, Bob, because he said to me, God had given him the ability to look in my eyes and tell I was lying. That floored me, brother, and
you were done. It was like, I'm not going to be a Christian if that's what.
Well, that sealed the deal. That this was a bunch of baloney. It sealed the deal for me.
Okay, so Morris, let's jump ahead a bit. You're married now. You have a young son, but you have a sister who got hooked on drugs.
Right.
What effect was that having on her, the drugs?
Well, it had a devastating effect on her as a woman because of the things that being strung out on drugs will challenge women to do. She lost her family, her husband, her children, and she was living from various crack houses. But for me to watch her, my sister was a very beautiful woman. And to watch her go from a strong, beautiful woman to literally a skeleton and just a zombie.
So what was going on inside of you? Was that making you angry, seeing her like that?
It was making me very angry, Bob, but at the same time, I became what they call an enabler. And my wife would tell me, I'm trying to help her pay her bills, I'm talking with her, I'm doing whatever I can to help her. The more I helped her, it seemed the worse things got. My wife would say to me, Morris, you can't help her, you need to let her go. And that just wasn't acceptable to me.
Okay, now you heard that this gentleman that you took his life, that he was involved in getting her onto drugs.
Right.
And so tell me what happened.
Well, now, and I want to be absolutely clear, that was a rumor.
Right.
A rumor that I chose to believe. And that was never proven, and I hate that I embraced that. He took me, I was with him one evening, he took me to a crack house that we thought she was at to get her out, and I had my pistol with me.
You know what, Morris? Hold that for just one moment.
Okay.
When we come back, we're going to find out what happened, and we're going to find out more about how Morris got from this awful situation to the man of God he is today. Join us again in just a moment. Welcome back to Something More. I'm your host, Bob DuVall, and again, I'm here with Morris Graves. And Morris, before we went to the break, we found out about your sister who was hooked on drugs and your cousin's husband, that you heard a rumor that he was the one who had gotten her hooked on drugs. So you were beginning to tell us that you all went to a crack house together. Were you looking for your sister?
Yes, and
Okay.
he took me there looking for her.
Okay.
And the sad thing is, Bob, that he said, Morris, you wait out here and I'll go up, knock on the door and see if she's there. He did that, and when he knocked on the door, they told him, well, she's not in here, and I don't want to use names if that's okay.
Sure.
She's not in here, and so he was coming off of the porch, and as he's coming off of the porch, I pulled my pistol out and I leaped onto the porch, and I'm screaming and I'm cursing, I'm out of control, and I'm saying, I want to get in, I want to see for myself.
Yeah.
Well, these guys, they've got guns, and they're guarding this door. I should have been killed right there.
So getting inside would not have been a good idea.
Would not have been a good
Right.
idea. And
Yeah.
he grabbed me and pulled me off the porch. And when he pulled me off the porch, Bob, I'm telling you, a monster rose up in me. And I just pulled myself away from him, and I began to curse him out, making all kind of accusations against him. And I just went nuts. And then he hit me, and he just hit me in the face. And when he did that, everything like went silent. And when he realized what he'd done, he ran. And I ran him down, and before it was all over with, he'd been shot. I was in the interrogation room, and I'll never forget when they were interrogating me, one of the detectives walked in the room and said, "You're going to have to change the charges on this one. The guy just died on the operating table." Tell you, it was devastating.
What did they charge you with?
Charged me with first-degree murder.
Okay.
Right.
All right. Now, you were in jail before any trial or plea or anything, and there was a man in the jail, another prisoner,
Right.
named Tyrone,
Right.
who was preaching, sharing, speaking about God, not to you, but to some other gentleman.
Right.
And you overheard him, and what effect did that have on you?
Well, it didn't have any effect on me. He was getting on my nerves, man. I tell you, there was 4 of us in the cell.
Okay.
The first night I meet this guy, Bob, I walk into the cell. It's in the wee hours of the morning. They give you your mattress is rolled up with a blanket and a pillow, and so I'm putting this mattress there, and I'm making up this bed so I can go to sleep. And this guy's on the bottom bunk, and he peers out from under the bottom bunk. I'm telling you, it is literally the ugliest guy I've ever seen in my life. It scared me. He didn't have any eyebrows. The guy was weird looking. And he says, "Brother, you don't have to worry. You don't have to hide your stuff in here. He says, we're all Christians in here." And I went, "Okay, right." And, over the course of the next few days, I was on the phone with my wife trying to get out. My lawyer had told me, "Morris, the best thing you can do is get out on bond, because the penal system's bagged up. It'll be a while before you get sentenced." And when I realized that wasn't going to happen, he'd been talking about, you got to serve the Lord. You can't turn to the left. You can't turn to the right. Preaching to these other guys. When I realized that I was done, I got on my knees one evening. It was really early in the wee hours of the morning. And I cried out, "Lord, I don't know if you're real or not, but if you'll help me get out of here and spend this little bit of time with my family, then I'll go to prison for the rest of my life, and I'll serve you, and I won't turn to the left or to the right." That was the only prayer I knew.
Now, you had something really miraculous happen as a result, obviously salvation, but a former employer actually became aware of your situation, put up the collateral for you to get out. And so you had that time with your family before you were sentenced. So let's move ahead now to you were sentenced, you pled guilty to second-degree murder, sentenced for 15 years.
Plea bargain.
Yeah, plea bargain. Sentenced for 15 years. You go into prison and you start writing letters to your wife, Denise, and you're telling her what?
Well, I understood I had to do this time. And what will happen in prison, I've been in and out of jail, so I knew the routines, is I had seen guys get so involved in trying to control a woman from inside prison or inside jail, and they just lose their minds. So I'm telling her, you need to divorce me and move on with your life, because I'm trying to do this. I've got to deal with this time, and I don't want to have to worry about what you're out there doing.
Okay, but then she comes to visit you for the first time in prison, brings your 2-year-old son with her, and what is she telling you? Is she ready for the same thing? Is she like, yeah, I'm gonna get out?
No, she's, and that's the ironic thing is, Bob, is she should have welcomed the opportunity to be free of me. I mean, you gotta understand, she's living with a drunk with a very heated temper. So she should have welcomed that opportunity. I didn't realize at the time God was actually, I'm a new Christian, but God's working on her, even as he's working on me. And so she comes and she convinces me to stop trying to push her out of my life.
So how did you survive, though, in prison? I mean, you're a Christian now. You're a believer in Jesus, and you're going into this really rough environment, rough situation. How did you survive? How did your faith survive?
Well, God was with me, And I mean, Bob, when I tell you God was with me, I mean God was literally with me. I learned how to walk with God. Early on in my prison sentence, I met a gentleman by the name of Harold Broom, an older gentleman who was in prison for a string of bank robberies. And I didn't know at the time, but he would watch young guys. And if he felt like God was dealing with him about discipling them, he would invite them to walk with him, for him to show them how to walk with God.
So did he disciple you?
He said to me, "Young blood, I'm going to show you how to walk with God." And he did.
Morris, we got to take another
Yes,
picture.
sir.
This is going so fast because it's so good. When we come back, we want to find out about what happened with Morris's sentence, him getting out, and what God's been doing with him since that time. So come back in just a moment. Welcome back to Something More. I'm here with Morris Graves. And again, we were talking about him going to prison for 15 years. And we don't have time to go into just different things that God did. He was faithful to you in prison. You were being discipled. And you were in for 4 years. Now, let me just say quickly, you told me when we were talking earlier, not on the show, but that typically what they'll do is if you've got a sentence, they'll cut it in half. But then if people are getting in trouble, they'll start adding back to it.
Right.
But so you should have been in at least 7 years before you were eligible for parole, and that was no guarantee.
Right.
Okay, so now you're in for 4 years, and God tells you, pray your way out.
Right.
So did you?
Well, first of all, that was a very hard thing for me to hear because I had made up in my mind that I was going to serve out my time because of the crime. I felt an obligation to pay my debt to society.
You weren't blaming anybody else.
No.
Yeah.
It was all me. Nobody else was to blame. I carried that. And it wasn't like I was trying to pay a penalty. I understood Christ paid that for me, but I really felt like for the people that I'd hurt, that I deserved what I was getting, and I wanted to pay that debt.
Okay, so you prayed, and nothing's supposed to happen at least until 7 years,
Right.
but it's only 4 years. It's 3 years away from the possibility of parole. You prayed. What happened?
Well, a week after I started praying, God not only did He tell me to pray, He told me how to do it and what to do. It was very beautiful. And you gotta understand, I had worked up this wonderful relationship with God. And a week after I started praying, my parole papers came. They asked, Raleigh sent the paperwork instructing my programmer to tell me to get a home plan together.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how many years did you serve altogether?
It's close to 4.5.
4.5.
Close, yes.
Okay, so you get out, and one of the things you say when you get out is, "I'm never going back."
Right.
Okay, which would include, prison ministry to be out then because you don't want to go back. But God was calling you to that.
Well, I told guys when I was in the system, I would say, man, when I get out of here, because you'd see guys get caught in that recidivism, that revolving
Right.
door.
Yeah.
And I would say, man, when I get out of here, I am never coming back to this joint. And they would say, Rev, you're not even coming back to preach? I said, brother, I ain't coming back here for nothing. And so a year out, you can't come back in. You have to be out a year before you come back in. A year out, the chaplain at the prison that I had served, the last prison I served at, called me and asked, he said, Morris, I have a slot open and I'd like for you to take it and come back in and start preaching. And so I did. No questions asked. I'm sure, no problem. And so I've been doing prison ministry now for about 26 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
And other kinds of ministry too. And you and Denise still together?
38 years.
38 years.
Beautiful, blissful marriage.
Have you given her a big gold medal yet for staying with you?
It's a beautiful marriage, and God done a beautiful work there. She actually came to the Lord as a result of watching me serve God.
And I know Denise personally, and she is a wonderful woman. So, Morris, because of what you've gone through, you have a passion for God, you have a heart for people, and there are people who've gone through tragedies. Sometimes it might be something they did, it might be something that happened to them, but look into the camera and minister to those people who are watching us right now.
Okay, very good. Saints, I want to say to you that it doesn't matter where you are in your life, and there are those that may be feeling as if you have messed up so much that you're at the end of your rope. You can't even tie a knot on it, you're so far down. But I want to say to you, and I can say this personally because God has done such a beautiful work in my life, that where you are right now, the God of glory is prepared to begin to rewrite your story. And I'm asking you to give him the opportunity to do that. In fact, I want to pray with you that you would surrender to the God of glory. Father, in Jesus' mighty and precious name, just as you, Father God, accepted my invitation on that cold jailhouse floor for you to come into my life and help me and strengthen me and redirect my life, I'm asking you to do that for the viewers, my King. I'm asking you in Jesus' beautiful and precious name, Father, that you would infuse hope into those that are feeling hopeless. And we're going to be careful, my King, to give you the honor, the praise, even the glory. Thank you, Father. Thank you so very much for being a prayer answering God. I want to say to those that have prayed that prayer with me, today is the beginning of something very beautiful and powerful happening in your lives. Bless you.
Amen. You know, Morris is a testament to the transforming power of God. And I've been around him for close to 8 years, and it's not something you could fake. He's constantly showing passion for God, concern for others, encouraging others. And so I want to encourage you, no matter what's happened to you, what tragedy you've gone through, no matter what you've done, there's forgiveness. And from God, there's the ability to forgive others. Turn to him today if you don't know him. And if you do and you're struggling, press in. Get a greater intimacy with God. He wants to help you live in victory. He's got a purpose and a plan for you. Press into him today. And join us again next time for something more.